everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maggie. Today I am closing out the finances of 2022 and I wanted to share some of those numbers with you. I really enjoy kind of doing recaps, monthly, but especially yearly. It helps me just kind of, zoom out a little bit. When you're in the monthly budgets and the day-to-day spending, it can be hard to recognize such great accomplishments you're making and the progress you're making. So I really enjoy kind of zooming out. I put together a couple of graphics. I'm excited to kind of share those things with you. So today I will have timestamps linked down below for different chapters if you want to skip around. So if you're curious what the different topics of today are, you can check them out. But a quick rundown, I'm going to talk through my net income sources, ranking them, the most to the least. That's kind of fun. I'm then going to go into the 2022 budgeted versus actuals. We'll talk about what the changes are there, my averages per month and things like that. Then we're going to look at the different categories of my budget in percentages and pie charts. So I'm doing a net version, and then we're going to zoom out further and do a gross version, which will include like taxes and, more retirement stuff and insurance and all of that. Then I'm going to give you an update on my mortgage progress, and we're going to close out with my financial goals and where I ended up with all of those. So I hope you enjoy. Give me a thumbs up if you are excited for financial videos. Let me know in the comment section along the way how 2022 went for you. What is your biggest accomplishment? And what are you really proud of? I'd love to hear from you down below in the comment section. So let's dive into the sources of income. So I'm just going to scoot to the side here. I made this cute little chart on Canva. I'm very proud of myself. So I have them ranked here 1 through 10. So I had 10 different types of income categories that I tracked. So number 1, my salary. And again, this is net. So this is what actually is in my bank account, if you will. So salary, of course, number 1, that's my primary source of income. 2, personal reimbursements. So my boyfriend and I split expenses. Typically, I pay for everything and then he pays me back. But this is also with friends. If we go out to eat, and I'll pick up the tab or whatever, and then they want to split it and Venmo me, I do include that as income. I'm allocating it and moving it around. So that's number 2 with over $7,000. 3, credit card cash back. I have 2 different cash back credit cards, a Discover and a Capital One. Between the 2 of them, I made over $580 this past year, which is awesome. Really love to see that. Number 4, tax refund. This is mostly from property taxes. I'm qualified to receive a little bit of a refund on those. So $534. Number 5, YouTube. I am monetized, so I do receive a little bit of kickback from ads. So for the year, just shy of $380. I'm very happy with that. I don't do YouTube to make money. I do it for fun. So that's just fine and dandy with me. Number 6, dividends and interest. This is mostly from my taxable brokerage account. So $113.47. Bank interest. This year, interest rates have been wild with bank accounts. They've been super low. Then right now they're really high. And towards the end of the year, they were high. I use the Capital One 360 accounts, the savings accounts for my sinking funds. So I made $92.22 across all those different accounts this past year. Cashback websites, so think of like Rakuten. I personally use Mr. Rebates more often. I do have an affiliate link down below for Mr. Rebates if you want to sign up, but same thing, just kind of cashback websites, anything that kind of kicks back from your normal online purchases. Number 9, work reimbursements, $47.58. Don't even remember what that was from, to be honest. And then 10, Turk surveys. This is the Amazon survey. I did a lot of these in years past, and then this year I really didn't do very many, but I forgot that I did $8.65 worth, so that's cool. So those are the different net income sources, and we're going to dive into my budgeted versus actuals next. Okay, so on the spreadsheet that we're looking at, I have just a couple of columns of data to go through. So in the first column, I have the different categories of my budget. If you're familiar with my budgets, you've seen these before, you've heard me talk about them. In column B, I have the budgeted, actual numbers, what I set my annual budget at the end of 21. I have the actual, so my total numbers from this past year, the change. And then I thought it would be fun to do an average per month. I just rounded these to full numbers, but I thought it would be interesting to see for the different sinking funds and different things I'm doing, what an average per month would be. So income-wise, I budgeted $52,580 for the year. My actual income across all of those sources we just talked about, and this is again my net income, so what actually came into my bank account and everything, $62,243. So just under $10,000 more, which is really awesome, for an average income per month, $5,187. So moving into the expenses, so this is the highest category in my budget typically. So this holds pretty much my bills and then a few kind of like variable expenses. So first one, mortgage. I actually budgeted higher than what my actual was. I did kind of budget for there to be a little bit of an influx. I wasn't sure how my escrow was going to calculate, but I was actually under this year, which is great. So I was under by over $500. And the average per month is $1,012, which doesn't surprise me. My HOA, I was $25 over my budget, and that was actually because I missed a month, so I had a late fee. I don't know how that slipped through the cracks, but it did. So otherwise, I would have been spot on with this one, and an average of $265 a month. Insurance. So this is my car insurance, my homeowner's insurance, and I have an umbrella policy that I have, over everything. So I was only off by $33. It went up just slightly this year, but I'm pretty happy with my estimate so far. So that's an average of $175 a month for insurance. Utilities, I was also over by just about $25. I'm also pretty impressed with how I did with the utilities. I kind of take averages and add a few dollars to kind of guess what my month to month will be. And I'm very, very happy that this wasn't so astronomically outside of like what I was guessing. And that means that my kind of calculations for estimating are working well. So an average of $113 a month. Phone, only change up by 20 cents. That's like pretty good, okay? I'm very happy with that estimate there. So actually $1,084.81 for an average of about $90 a month. Netflix, Spotify, I should also put on there, Amazon Prime. These are my subscriptions. So I was actually lower than I estimated, which is great, by almost $70. So that's, wonderful. I know subscription can get expensive pretty fast. I've been trying to just stick to those core three, and it's been working for me. So an average of $49 a month. Groceries. Okay, we were up about $1,200 in groceries this past year. To be honest, I think two things played into this. One, of course, just the cost of groceries. We've seen so many goods just skyrocket, eggs in particular. I know meat has been up and down all year, chicken. So there's only so much you can do there, but I also made it a little bit more of a priority to have the ability to buy when things are on sale. So I normally wouldn't do that before, but I was willing to pay a little bit more to make sure that I always have, something on my pantry, something in my freezer. So I'm okay with that. As an average of $580 per month. Gas, I budgeted $760 for the year. I was under that estimate by $34.10. So that's about an average of $60 a month, which is what I currently budget for. Spending, this is always the one that makes me nervous. So I budgeted $6,000 for personal spending this year. That's eating out, it's buying clothes, it's going to movies or concerts. It's just any personal spending. I used to have categories for all of that, and it was just too much of a headache, so I lump it all together. So I was over by $3,841. I'm not surprised. That's how it kind of works. The other thing I will say is for my boyfriend, he doesn't really shop online very much. So if he does want to order something, clothes, for example, I will typically order it for him, pay for it, and then he pays me back. And when he pays me back, I put the money from that check into all the appropriate categories. So I'm seeing a true number there. So not saying that all $3,841 extra was because of him, but that is a factor as well. So I kind of always know that spending is probably going to be more than the budgeted, but for me, it all makes sense in my brain. I know some people get confused by that, and that's okay. It clicks for me. So $820 is my average per month. So to close out expenses here, I was over my budgeted by just about $4,500, and my average per month is $3,164, which I just think is so interesting to see. So moving down for funds. So this section, I hope everything is over what I budgeted for. These are the different sinking funds and savings categories that I used for the past year. So annual bills, up by $451. When I do receive YouTube paychecks, I put a third into my annual bills, and kind of anytime that there's other things that come through, I put it into the annual bills category, just to help kind of buffer those things that come up once a year. So average per month, $165. Miko is my cat. I was off by $20, so $20 extra to him this year for an average of $42 a month. So this is for his, food, litter, his annual vet visit, a couple of toys, but cats are pretty low maintenance, at least, for me. Incidental, only up by $33.52. So incidental is kind of like my cushion fund or my buffer. So on average, $53 a month. I budget about $50. So that kind of makes sense to me. Vacation, I spent more than I budgeted this year by over $1,000. We did have a couple of big trips throughout the year, which is really great. I love traveling. Spending money on vacation is worth it to me personally. Like, I'm very comfortable spending money in that category. So I have no regrets. And it was really fun to go to Miami and to go to New York City and some other really just exciting trips that my boyfriend and I took together. So the monthly average is $349, which is great to know, if I want to shoot for the kind of that 4,000 mark, $350-ish is where I'm going to be. Beauty, budgeted $700, actually spent $830. Yeah, beauty for me kind of ebbs and flows, but I also have noticed the regular products, my shampoo, my face wash, and I don't use super expensive brands or anything like that. I use a lot of drugstore brands, but even those costs are going up with inflation. So, it is what it is. I'm just happy it's under $1,000. That's really great. So an average of $69 a month. Car. So I budgeted to do $50 a month for my car. This was a new sinking fund for me in 22. I actually spent closer to, $1,300. I did have a car service appointment in the fall where I got all new tires. They did all the things. And I'm really glad that I started saving for it. And it just kind of reaffirms that even though I have a newer car and I don't drive that much, you are always going to have car maintenance costs over the years. So pretty much doubled my car fund and my average per month is about $100, $107 there. So it's just a good reminder that, even though I won't buy tires every year, things come up and it's just kind of the part of owning a car. Gifts. Pretty close on this one, up by $33.79 for an average of $88 a month. I do plan out my gifts, so I make a list of everybody that I plan to buy a gift for, birthdays, Father's Day, Christmas. This year I'm going to a friend's wedding, so I have that factored in. So I'm not surprised that this is pretty close. Actually, I'm pretty proud it's close because that means that my planning worked and I stayed, pretty close to what I thought I was going to be at. Opportunity up quite a bit. So this is like a giving fund for me. I also use it to support different fundraisers that are happening in my community. So I'm really happy that this is up for an average of $48 a month. I'm looking to increase that even this year in 2023. Health, I did not include this as a sinking fund in my budgeting process. This was actually kind of a late addition to the year, but it is one that I'm going to be using going forward. So I budgeted $0. Actual was $120.13 for an average of about $10 a month. Even though I didn't have it all year, I just still did the average. And I'm really glad that I added it. It's kind of like car, there's just certain health expenses that come up, over-the-counter medicines, allergy pills for me, just vitamins, all those types of things. I didn't really have a good category. So most of the year I actually put that into home, which is the category right below here in the list. But I want to separate those out into a health versus home type thing. So I didn't go through every purchase throughout the year and reconfigure it. That was too much work, but I'll be interested to see how that changes in 23. So moving into home, way over here, home is one of those triggers I never realized was a trigger for me, but it's very easy for me to spend money on candles and just, I don't know, random stuff. To be honest, I that's definitely an area I can improve upon. But this also did include, like I said, the vitamins and, ibuprofen and Tums and whatever else we needed, as well as like laundry detergent, cleaning supplies, toilet paper. Like there are legitimate home purchases, but it definitely got a little out of hand this year. So $188 average per month. And then my emergency fund, my main goal this year was to complete my 3-month emergency fund. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So I actually ended up putting more in there as kind of the cost of living changed. I wanted to make sure my 3 months of expenses were still realistic for the change of costs, of what we're doing. So that did fluctuate a little bit. So average of $494 a month, which is great. So a total for the whole fund section, I was actually able to put over $5,000 more towards my sinking funds for an average of $1,613 per month. So that's exciting. Okay, 2 categories left, and they're both short. We have investing. Betterment is my taxable brokerage account. So $25.38 more, average of $27 a month, not bad. Roth IRA, I had budgeted to put more in throughout the year than I actually did. Part of this is because I ended up putting more into my emergency fund, but all is well. So I'm actually down the budgeted versus actual, but I still put on an average $339 a month into my Roth IRA. Ground floor, I used to invest in ground floor a little bit more than I do now. I'm just kind of letting the investments pull through and then I reinvest. So $32.96 for an average of $3 a month. And then my HSA, this is my post-tax contribution. So I do pre-tax contributions to my HSA, which aren't included in this net budget that we're looking at. But I did need to add just a little bit to max it out, this $33.28. So I just contributed that post-tax, and I'll do the form to get it back in my taxes. So anyway, that's about $3 a month. And then my investing total overall down, but my average is $372 a month, which is great. And the last section I have here is cash flow. So the only thing that I really budgeted for was a planner. I do purchase a planner every year, and I was going to cash flow it. And then I decided, because I buy a planner every year, I'm going to put it into the annual sinking fund from now on. It just seemed like a better fit and not something I necessarily need to cash flow. So I budgeted for that. I didn't actually spend from this cash flow line item. I did purchase a planner, but it came out of the annual fund. So that's why this one is kind of like a wash. But 2 things that I didn't plan for that did happen was I had a hair appointment and a massage. So my budget was 0. I didn't plan for that. And then I have my actuals here. So my total for cash flow is $37 a month on average, and $445-ish for the year. So overall, feeling really good with how my numbers came out. It's just always exciting to kind of see the totals. Okay, so I talked through a lot of numbers with that budgeted versus actual, and I wanted to put it into a visual. So I just made a quick graph in Google Sheets here, and I'm putting the screenshots up here so you can see them. So this just breaks down the 4 categories: expenses, funds, investing, and cash flow in a visual here. So 61% of my total net income went to expenses, 31.1% went to those different sinking funds and savings, 7.2% went to post-tax investing, and 0.7%, that little sliver, went to the cash flow section. So this is just helpful for me to see where my money's going. My main goal is always to be at 65% or less of my money going towards my expenses. So I was able to achieve that this year. So if we zoom out even further, we've been talking about net numbers, what actually comes into my bank account, but I do want to talk through the gross numbers here. So this is including now taxes and insurance. I've got more investing happening because this includes my 401k and the HSA pre-tax contributions. So I just wanted to zoom out a little bit more here to talk about what this actually looks like. So moving over from section to section, taxes is first. 21% of my total gross income went to taxes. Over $18,000. I still will owe a little bit, which is just so fun. Then moving into insurance, this is my health insurance, my dental insurance. I'm very fortunate in that my employer contributes, the most of that premium. It looks like for this past year, I did pay about $775, which is just below 1% of my total gross income. Investing, so as I mentioned, this includes my 401k and the Roth IRA. This is all of the investing. So the Roth IRA, Betterment, HSA, ground floor, 401k, I think that's it, all of those together. So for my gross income perspective, I contributed over $12,000 to those different accounts and 13.6% of my total income, which is really great. And I can't wait to see that number grow over time. Then we have my expenses. So after taxes, after insurance, after those investments, I now have the expense section as the next kind of big one here, which is 42.4%. Also really great to see and kind of put things into perspective. The funds, so the same sinking funds that we were talking about before, is 21.6%. And then this cash flow is 0.5%, so not even a full percentage, but still wanted to include it in this whole kind of scale. So I just like kind of seeing it visually and putting it into perspective, those numbers that I'm so used to seeing with the net, but then bringing in the taxes, insurance, and the other investment vehicles is just really interesting for me. So I hope you found that interesting too. All right, next we're going to talk about my mortgage progress. So I do have a mortgage on my home, and each month I do some highlighting on my amortizations list. It's part of that kind of recap series. So I wanted to do a larger recap in this video in case you're invested in this. I pay an extra payment every year, and I think it's really interesting to see how these numbers can snowball over time. I've owned my house for 23 will be 5 years, which is wild. But yeah, I wanted to kind of mention kind of what happened this year. So at the beginning of the year, my mortgage balance was over $145,000. And at the end of the year, it's closer to $141,000. So that is really great. I was able to pay $4,381.73 towards the mortgage principal, which is the balance change that we just saw. And then I also ended up paying $5,567.95 towards interest. So I'm not quite at the tipping point where my principal is more than my interest. I cannot wait for that day. Hopefully in a couple of years that'll come, but I'm getting closer every year for sure. So this is where I want to talk about kind of the difference between the scheduled and what I actually paid, because I'm, paying a little bit extra. So I was only scheduled to pay $3,307 towards my principal, but I was able to put over $4,300 towards the principal. I was able to put $1,074.73 extra towards the principal, which feels really, really great. Same thing with the interest, except we're kind of going the reverse way. So I was scheduled to pay $5,721 towards interest this year. I actually only paid $5,567.95, which means I saved $153.05 on interest this year alone. I know that doesn't sound like much, but it really makes a difference when you see every month that, it's less and less and less. It's motivating for me at least. So all-time interest saved. So since I've had my home, and I started making an extra payment every year, the year I bought my house. So this has been going on the whole time. So far, throughout the life of my loan, I've been able to save $369.19 on my interest. So I can't wait to see what it's going to be at the end of this year in 2023. And total months ahead, I'm 15 months ahead on my mortgage. So if you look at the balance of where I am versus where I'm scheduled to be, if I wasn't making any extra payments, I'm 15 months ahead of that, which feels really, really good. It's satisfying for me every month to cross off the payments I'm making, and sometimes I get to cross 2 off, which is the exciting month. But nonetheless, 15 months ahead feels really good. All right, and we are going to round out this video by reflecting on my financial goals from the past year. So in green, I have all of the goals I have accomplished, and in pink, the goals that I did not accomplish. So let's start with the goals that I did not accomplish so we can end on a high note. I wanted to max out my Roth IRA for the 2022 year. I did not complete that in the calendar year of 2022. I will complete that in the first quarter of 23. That's my primary goal right now, but it just didn't quite happen in the calendar year last year. I also wanted 15% of my income to be from passive sources. I just missed that. It was like 14.5%, but still not 15. So, a good kind of goal to keep reaching for, just not quite there yet. I wanted to earn $600 from YouTube. Didn't quite meet that either. I was closer to $380, which is okay. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But it is something that I like to track. So, it was a good goal to have. And then the last two were net worth goals, 200,000 and 300,000. So 200 was already kind of a stretch, and then 300 was like shoot for the moon type of kind of goal. I'm actually very close to 200, but didn't quite hit it on December 31st, which is fine. Net worth is also kind of arbitrary. There's so much that you can't control: the market, your house value, your car value, all of those things. So it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. But then moving to the green on the left of things that I did in fact accomplish, I did max out my HSA of $38.50, which feels really great. I did complete my emergency fund. So I chose to do 3 months of bare bone expenses and then $1,000 kind of buffer in that as well. And I've been able to maintain that, which is also really great. I did increase my 401k contributions. I got a raise in April or May of last year. And as soon as I got the raise, I bumped up my contributions, which felt great. My expenses were 61%, which is under 65%, which feels really good. And that's on the net level. And then savings rate. So I do calculate my savings rate month to month and then a year end kind of rate. So my goal was 20% and then 25%. The difference is 20% not including the mortgage principal and 25% including the mortgage principal. I surpassed both of those, which is really, really awesome. And I'm very happy about that. And then I wanted no credit card debt. So I've gone another year without any credit card debt accruing. I do use credit cards for all of my, normal spending, but I just pay them off. Actually, I pay them off weekly just so that I can keep on top of it. But I never have interest accruing and debt accruing either. And then I also wanted to read one personal finance book. I read Millionaire Next Door, which was great, but obviously dated. So I would like to read another book this year. I haven't decided which one that will be yet, but I think it was, good to have one personal finance related book in my list of things to read throughout the year. So I just threw a ton of information at you about my personal finances. I hope this was interesting for some of you. Again, I would really love to hear from you in the comment section about what some of your accomplishments were, things that you're proud of that you did in the past year. And that is going to wrap up 2022. We're focusing on 2023 and going forward. How exciting. So I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.